Every day, thousands of people around the world lose their lives to drug overdoses. Some call it a tragedy, others call it weakness. But I think we need to call it what it truly is: pain. The kind that runs so deep, it tries to disappear. It's a pain that whispers lies in the dark, promising escape but delivering only a deeper sorrow. This isn't just a headline or a statistic, it's a son, a daughter, a mother, a friend. It's a human story filled with struggle, hope, and a desperate search for peace that so many of us can understand, even if we haven't walked that exact path. But what happens to these souls after death? Are they judged? Are they forgiven? Are they lost in darkness or found in the light? This is a question that haunts families, that keeps loved ones awake at night, wrestling with theology and fear. It's a question that touches on our deepest beliefs about justice, mercy, and what it means to be human. For so long, this conversation has been shrouded in shame and silence, leaving grieving hearts with unanswered prayers and the heavy weight of uncertainty. Today, we're going to step into that silence. We're going to open our hearts and our minds to explore what different spiritual traditions and belief systems have to say about this profound mystery. We're not here to find one single answer because there isn't one. We're here to hold space for the questions, to listen with compassion, and to seek a deeper understanding. We're going on a journey to replace judgment with empathy, and fear with the possibility of grace, love, and ultimate peace for every single soul. For centuries within many parts of the Christian faith, the conversation around death by suicide or overdose was often one of condemnation. It was seen as a sin, a final act that separated a soul from God's grace, leaving families to grieve not only the loss of their loved one but also for their eternal soul. This interpretation created a wall of silence and shame, a heavy burden for those already carrying an unbearable weight of sorrow. But I believe that our understanding of God, of Spirit, of the divine, is always expanding, always growing to encompass more love and more compassion. In recent years, we've seen a beautiful and profound shift in this conversation, a turning toward the heart of the Christian message: unconditional love and boundless mercy. Faith leaders and communities are now emphasizing a God who understands the depths of human suffering, a God who sees the illness of addiction and the despair that drives it, not as a moral failing but as a heavy cross to bear. They speak of a God who doesn't stand at the gates of heaven with a checklist of rules, but who runs to embrace the returning child no matter how lost or broken they may have been. This evolution is captured so powerfully by Pope Francis, who said, "The field hospital of the church is the world." He speaks of a church that doesn't wait for the perfect, but goes out to meet people in their mess, in their pain. This perspective suggests that God's judgment is not like ours. It is a judgment of perfect love, one that sees the intention, the struggle, the silent prayers, and the pain behind the final act. It's a belief that in the final moments grace can intervene, that the soul is met, not with anger, but with the infinite healing embrace of a loving Father. Now let's journey east, to the ancient wisdom of Buddhism. Here, the focus shifts from a final judgment by a divine being, to the inner state of the individual. In Buddhist philosophy, the moment of death is profoundly significant. It is believed that the state of one's mind, the thoughts, feelings, and consciousness present in those final seconds, is the primary force that shapes the journey into the next life. It's like a karmic echo, setting the trajectory for what comes next. This isn't about punishment, it's about cause and effect, the natural law of the universe. For someone struggling with addiction, their mind is often a turbulent sea of craving, confusion, and suffering. A death by overdose, from this perspective, might lead to a challenging rebirth, as the mind is caught in that powerful storm of attachment and pain. However, and this is the beautiful part, Buddhism teaches that no one is ever truly lost or eternally damned. The cycle of rebirth, or samsara, is a long, long journey. One difficult life, or even a difficult death, is just one chapter in a much larger story of the soul's evolution toward enlightenment. The core belief is that every being possesses Buddha nature, a fundamental essence of purity and goodness, even if it's temporarily obscured by clouds of suffering and delusion, like addiction. The path is not about being perfect, but about continually turning toward the light. Practices like chanting, prayer, and dedicating merit by loved ones are also believed to help the consciousness of the deceased, guiding them toward a more fortunate rebirth. It's a message of profound hope that the journey continues and that every soul, in its own time, will find its way back to peace. In the rich and ancient tapestry of Hinduism, the concept of the soul, or Atman, is central. The Atman is believed to be eternal, divine, and unchanging, a spark of the ultimate reality, Brahman, that exists within every living being. From this viewpoint, the body is merely a temporary vessel, a set of clothes the soul wears for one lifetime. Death, therefore, is not an end but a transition, a moment when the soul sheds its worn-out garments and prepares for the next stage of its immense journey. The idea of eternal damnation simply does not exist. The journey of the soul is guided by the law of karma, the universal principle of cause and effect. Every thought, word, and action creates an imprint on the soul, shaping its future experiences and lifetimes. Addiction and a subsequent overdose are seen through this karmic lens. They are understood not as a sin to be punished, but as the result of deep-seated karmic patterns, or samskaras, the echoes of past actions and attachments playing out in the present life. The suffering of addiction is itself a powerful karmic experience, but the purpose of this cosmic cycle is not retribution, it is growth. Every experience, especially the most painful, is seen as an opportunity for the soul to learn, to purify itself, and to ultimately achieve moksha, liberation from the cycle of rebirth and reunion with the divine source. The soul of someone who has passed from an overdose is not judged or condemned. Instead, it carries the lessons and the unresolved energies of that life forward, to be worked through in a future existence. It's a profoundly patient and compassionate worldview, assuring us that the soul's journey toward wholeness is inevitable, no matter how many lifetimes it takes. As we move beyond the structures of organized religion, we enter this diverse and deeply personal landscape of New Age and modern spiritual beliefs. Here the ideas are, less about ancient texts and more about direct intuition, channeled wisdom, and a universal sense of interconnectedness. A common thread in these viewpoints is the belief that our souls are powerful eternal beings who choose to come to Earth for specific experiences and lessons. The challenges we face, even something as devastating as addiction, are not random tragedies but are part of a pre-incarnation soul contract designed for our ultimate growth. From this perspective, a soul might choose the difficult path of addiction to learn profound lessons about compassion, forgiveness, the nature of suffering, or the illusion of separation. It's a radical reframing that shifts the narrative from victimhood to spiritual courage. When a life ends through an overdose, it is not seen as a failure. Instead, it is often viewed as the completion of that soul's chosen curriculum. The soul, having learned the lessons it came to learn, simply graduates and returns home to the spirit world. Many in the New Age community speak of what happens next in beautiful healing terms. They describe healing realms or soul hospitals on the other side, where souls who have undergone intense trauma on Earth are met with unconditional love and gentle care. Here, life reviews are conducted not with a judge and jury, but with loving spirit guides who help the soul understand its journey from a higher perspective. The emphasis is entirely on healing, integration, and recognizing the light that was never, ever extinguished, even in the darkest moments of earthly struggle. Perhaps the most compelling and personal explorations of the afterlife come from those who have stood at its very threshold and returned. I'm talking about near-death experiences, or NDEs. Thousands of people have been revived after their hearts have stopped, including many who have overdosed, and their stories share astonishingly similar themes. What they report is not a fiery pit of judgment or a cold, empty void, but an experience of overwhelming love, peace and understanding that really transcends human language. It's a reality more real than this one. These individuals consistently speak of leaving their physical bodies and being enveloped in a brilliant, warm light, a light they describe as being pure, unconditional love. They often meet beings of light who some identify as angels, spirit guides, or even previously departed loved ones. There is no condemnation for the circumstances of their death. Instead, there is only compassion, empathy, and a sense of being welcomed home. They feel understood in a way they never were on Earth, their pain seen and acknowledged without an ounce of judgment. Many NDE survivors describe undergoing a life review, but it's not what you might think. It's not a trial. They re-experience their lives from the perspective of every person they ever interacted with, feeling the joy they caused and the pain they inflicted. The purpose isn't punishment, it's the ultimate lesson in empathy and interconnectedness. For those who overdosed, they often report understanding that their struggle was part of a larger plan, and they return to their bodies with a profound new sense of purpose and a complete absence of the fear of death, knowing that love is what awaits us all. Now, for many people, the question of what happens next is not answered with faith or spirituality, but with a focus on the here and now. The secular or humanist perspective doesn't seek answers in an unseen realm. Instead, it grounds us firmly in the world we know, in the tangible impact we have on one another. From this viewpoint, when a person dies from an overdose, their consciousness ends. There is no soul journey, no karmic cycle, no heavenly reunion. There is simply the end of a life. And in that finality, there is a profound call to action for those of us left behind. If this life is all we have, then every single moment and every single person becomes infinitely precious. The tragedy of an overdose is not about a lost soul, but about a lost future, lost potential, lost experiences, lost love, and lost contributions to our world. The focus shifts from the afterlife of the individual to the legacy they leave behind and the world that failed them. It asks us to look at the systems, the healthcare, the social support, the economic pressures, that create the conditions for such deep pain and despair to take root. This perspective calls not for prayer but for policy. It calls not for faith in the unseen but for action in the seen. The true afterlife of a person lost to addiction is the memory they leave in the hearts of their loved ones and the change their story can inspire in society. It compels us to fight for better mental health care, to destigmatize addiction, and to build communities where people feel seen, supported, and valued. It's a powerful reminder that our responsibility is to the living, to ensure that fewer stories have to end this way. So, what happens to the soul after an overdose? We've walked through the hallowed halls of faith, we've listened to the whispers of spirit, and we've stood on the firm ground of reason. Maybe no one knows for sure, but if there is a God, a source, a light, I believe it's big enough to hold even our darkest moments with grace. I believe the universe is built on a foundation of love so vast that no soul can ever fall outside of its embrace. Whether you see it as mercy, karma, or healing, the common thread is that the story doesn't end with the pain. Every soul matters. Every life lost is a mirror reflecting back the cracks in our system and the depth of human pain. These are not statistics to be debated. They are human hearts that once beat with hopes and dreams. They are a sacred call for us to do better, to be better, to look at the person struggling on the street corner, in our family, or in the mirror and see not a flaw, but a fellow traveler deserving of compassion, dignity, and a helping hand. Their story becomes part of our story, urging us toward a more connected and caring world. Let's honor their memory not just with memorials but with action. Let's build a world where fewer souls go that way, one with compassion, fairness, and healing at the center. Let's create a world where a cry for help is met not with judgment, but with an open heart and the resources to truly heal. That is how we turn this immense tragedy into a catalyst for love. In memory of every soul lost to addiction, you are not forgotten,